So this week, the media is breathlessly reporting on the shakeup in Trump's National Security Council that Steve Bannon was stepping down to be replaced by Secretary of Energy Rick Perry. The news launched a media feeding frenzy at the move, since Steve Bannon was part of the three scalps they've been looking for since Trump took office. The media, the left, the establishment Republicans, they were fixated on driving Mike Flynn, Kellyanne Conway, and Steve Bannon from the Trump administration. So far, they're 1 for 3. But this move is only going to further embolden their efforts. Why? Because somebody's been feeding the trolls. And what's the first rule about dealing with trolls? Don't feed the trolls. Bannon's side, on the other hand, was looking to downplay the significance of the move, and they had a lot of points in their favor. To be fair, Bannon maintains his security clearance. He's actually got one of the closest offices in the White House to the Oval Office, where he could walk in any time to talk to Trump about national security. And he can still simply attend any meeting of the National Security Council at his pleasure. He's able to do that. In fact, Cernovich Media reports that up until this point, Bannon hadn't even attended one meeting of the National Security Council, and he had just been there as a way of depoliticizing the NSC. In a statement, Bannon pointed the finger directly at Susan Rice, the former head of the NSC, to remind the public that under her and Obama, the NSC had turned into a political wiretapping cell, placing anyone they felt like under NSA surveillance, it seems. Bannon stated that his role was basically to figure out everything she had been up to and clean up the mess. While all that is likely true, there's still the 800-pound giant gorilla in the room. And what's the one thing we all know Trump understands better than possibly any president before? Optics and perception. Or to put it another way, branding and marketing. The man with his name on the most buildings in New York City and around the world isn't going to let a move like this make headlines if there isn't something else going on. And more to the point, if there are headlines about something that President Trump does not like, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to take to Twitter to say something about it. So let me see. Let me just look where Trump tweeted about Bannon. Was it today? Was it yesterday? Oh, look. In fact, he hasn't. Trump didn't even tweet about Bannon all through the 2016 campaign either. So what does this mean? There's essentially a turf war going on within the White House and in the Trump administration. Let's call it one side, #MAGA. These are the people who are on board with Trump's agenda from the start. Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, and until recently, Mike Flynn. Then there's the other side, made up of the establishment Republican National Committee, headed up by Reince Priebus, Paul Ryan, and Sean Spicer himself was a former RNC staffer. Numerous reports from both the left and the right are now coming out that saying Bannon's influence is being diminished by the RNC types, as well as Jared Kushner, the husband of Ivanka Trump. Roger Stone reported that Kushner is leaking anti-Bannon information to Joe Scarborough of MSNBC. Meanwhile, Politico is reporting Bannon even considered resigning after clashes with Jared Kushner as well. And yeah, guys, I know, Politico sources, I know. What does this all mean, all right? Somewhere in the middle, everyone agrees that Ryan, Kushner, and their allies are pushing back against Steve Bannon's populist approach to politics, American nationalism, the biggest part of what #MAGA even means to Trump supporters. And to be frank, let's look at the facts. What has the Trump administration been up to lately? At first, there were the executive orders about repealing Obamacare, building the wall, and the terrorist travel ban on Middle Eastern countries. But then at some point that all kind of slowed down, and suddenly it became about passing Ryan Care through Congress and attacking the Freedom Caucus and the Heritage Foundation for not supporting Ryan Care. And what the heck was Ryan Care anyway? I mean, wasn't it just written by the healthcare industry? It felt like nobody was actually trying to even explain what Ryan Care was. And meanwhile, Rand Paul just up and pointed out that it was basically Obamacare 2.0 with little actual changes. Next up, they're talking about moving forward with tax reform and accelerating the infrastructure plan. You know, that all sounds well and good, but none of it is the main policies that Trump campaigned on throughout the election. Many Trump supporters, and journalists too, are now pointing out the fact that Jared Kushner brought former Goldman Sachs executives Gary Cohn and Dina Habib Powell into the Trump administration. Now, these Goldman Sachs executives were not part of the campaign. Cohn and Powell, they're New Yorkers, they're registered Democrats, and they're definitely more liberal than most of President Trump's inner circle. And apparently, they've gained the trust and an alliance with fellow New Yorkers Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. So, like anything else, follow the money, right? Goldman Sachs, they're a multinational company. They've got a view on trade and business it's not America-centric, it's Goldman-centric, right? They want to do what's best for their bottom line and what's best for their business. And the best way to get that across to Trump is arguing that going down the Bannon road of populist economics, well, that would spark trade wars, instability in global markets and currency, and ultimately mean higher prices for American families, and maybe even jobs being moved away from the United States as companies look to do business elsewhere, okay? Trump doesn't want that because his entire campaign was about bringing jobs to the United States and restoring American wealth. Rising prices doesn't exactly lead to votes in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So what's Trump going to do? In the past, Trump has always gone back to the people, and it's my assessment that's exactly what he's going to do here as well. He's going to see how badly Ryan Care failed, how much his base disliked it, and he's going to reach out to other voices. He's already started reaching out to Rand Paul about his approach to repealing Obamacare and replacing it with a free market solution. And you know Paul Ryan is none too happy to see Trump and Rand on the golf course together. Trump will listen to many different sides and build up leverages upon leverages before finally moving in for the kill shot. How do I know? Because that's literally what Trump always does. He wrote a book about it. It's called The Art of the Deal, 1987. You might want to pick up a copy. Hillary Clinton probably should have picked up a copy. He put his entire strategic playbook out in the public for anyone to see. He knows how to keep a system going as he starts off with a huge opening bid and then gets closer and closer to what he really wants. Every situation is going to call for somewhat different negotiation, different tactics, but after all, that's why he based his book on The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Trump used to tweet about Sun Tzu all the time. Trump makes a lot of different moves before he finally makes a decision. He's known for changing up his staff frequently, and how many campaign managers has he had? 4 or 5? You're fired. Trump, he makes his big moves designed to hide his true hand. Like when he paraded Mitt Romney before the cameras and saying he was in the running for Secretary of State, only to eventually choose Rex Tillerson, which at that point nobody had even been talking about publicly. I'll leave it at this. If you want to keep up with DC anymore, you really have to read the Game of Thrones series. I'm talking at least twice. No, not the show, the books. It is not the same thing. No cheating. Now, regardless of the palace intrigue of the day, the man sitting the Iron Throne remains Donald Trump. And don't forget what he went through to win it. Reporting from Washington, D.C. for Rebel Media, Jack Posobiec. If you want more political insight and obscure Game of Thrones references, make sure to click like on this video, it's right down there, and then subscribe to Rebel Media. Just hit the bell. You know the bell, it's the little bell, it's right there, you find it. You'll get notified the next time we drop a video. I know it's a little bell, but it's right there. You will find it. I have faith.